Continuing part 2, the world of the names. Vashti and the wife of the Iwri. When at the end of the 6th day man is sent forth from paradise and enters this world of the 7th day, it says in the pre-Mondal story that he is filled with dismay. In our reality, however, our exile, the coming into the 7th day, is an event of immense joy. The Sabbath day is brought in like a bride. Everything bears a stamp of light and rejoicing. For this exile is a challenge to man. In this exile, he knows that he can act gratuitously. His entrance into this world at his birth, and similarly any new moment, is this leaving paradise, is this undergoing the destruction of the temple. But through the revelation in the world of the Iwri, he is aware that in this world of the exile which he is entering now, he can act without being able to survey the causes and without knowing the ultimate effects. He simply acts because he loves God and mankind. He acts gratuitously. And he is aware that in acting like this, he is ever connecting again what is furthest removed, all that comes his way, with the cause of all causes, with God. That in this way he is bringing it back. The horror and dismay only get hold of him if he does not know the word of the revelation. If he is ignorant about the directness of the way back, if in watching development he has learned to compute in millions of years, virtually to compute in infinities. In these infinities he feels lost, an utterly unimportant speck of dust. At that moment he is in the grip of fear and horror. When God shows Adam the light of the origin, Adam's fear similarly passes into immense joy. According to ancient lore, Adam then feels the joy which is expressed in Psalm 92, the psalm which Adam at that moment receives with the Ruach HaKodesh. Man as the Iwri therefore feels happy with this world, with the exile. He knows that he can connect the extremes, the bride and bridegroom. He knows that the Neshama does here what the Shekinah does, that in this very world of the 7th day, the Neshama has her peculiarly fascinating, all-embracing mission. The Iwri is aware of this relationship with the hidden, the Nistar. That is his bliss, his level-headed, sober-minded, tragic bliss. Thus, he is facing Queen Vashti, the queen that is bent on robbing him of this crown of bliss, of knowledge, of attitude. The queen that wants to flaunt the exterior, that denies the purpose of the 7th day, because she is the destroyer of the temple. This is the struggle of the Iwri in every individual with Queen Vashti. She holds many in her grip, for she is fair, seductive. She is powerful, imposing. She is not just somebody that happens to be there too. It is the very fairness and the power of Queen Vashti that will evoke the Esther story. The female aspect of King Ahasuerus is really worthwhile seeing. The world of natural laws, the phenomenal world, is something grand, powerful, full of dazzling beauty. It is false and not right to sweep her aside as something inferior. In doing so, one does not understand the challenge of creation, the mystery of action. When Queen Vashti disappears, there are two great figures that come into the limelight in the story of Esther. They are Haman of Amalek and Mordecai of Benjamin. They are the potent forces. Haman even more than Mordecai. Haman is at the same time the power which stimulates Ahasuerus into action. Mordecai is the one who determines the attitude for Esther. Both Ahasuerus and Esther in their action appear to be dependent. Who are those two men, and how is it that the starting point of action lies with them and not with the king and queen? It is something to do with this world of exile. Everything in the palace, in the king's mansion, is hidden, seems passive, seems blind and sleepy. Although ultimately decisions are taken there, yet they seem to be affected by actions outside the palace. The actions bespeak their mysterious purpose. Whatever makes its appearance in the world of the exile hides a secret. The actions in this world hide what is divine. At creation, when God establishes the 7th day, he pronounces the mysterious word Leashaf, which means, so that it be done. It is always found difficult to translate the word. There does not seem to be any logic in God resting on the seventh day, because all is complete. In God blessing and hallowing the seventh day and ultimately having things done, the wordless thought, in fact, can only be understood if, through ancient lore, one has learned to understand the meaning of the entire whole. God has made all and has put a special stamp on the seventh day. He has created all this so that it be done. In this doing on the seventh day lies the key to the secret. In this doing, the sublime is hiding. That is why the origin of action is Nistar and the effect is Nistar. In this, our world, however, this doing, action, bears the secret. Whether one is breathing, moving, digesting, or murdering, lying, loving, or sacrificing oneself, God himself is hidden in this doing. Man seems to be the cause of action. He thinks he is, and if he is self-assertive enough, he is even convinced of it. And yet, a great secret is hidden in this doing. It is not for nothing that the halacha, the path of action in this life, takes such an important place in ancient lore. The force of development. Haman is of Amalek. With King Ahasuerus, that which doeth at a certain moment and with ever-growing intensity is a force of Amalek. Amalek is considered the expression of the force of development. Amalek is the name of the force, the personification of it. The force of development is the force which draws creation ever further away from its origin, which is present at the crucial moment. That is every moment we call the now, which is convinced that now it is free from any bond with any power higher than man's, has the conviction to be the deity that holds his own fate and the destiny of the world in his own hands, eventually in collaboration with other people. This conviction is bilateral, for the force which would draw man back to the source of origin at the crucial moment is similarly convinced that it is virtually lost. The force of the return feels forlorn, lost at the mercy of the forces of development. Amalek is operative every moment. That is why from ancient times it has been the custom with Jews to call to mind this force of Amalek and then simultaneously to eradicate it in themselves. Every day anew, for the struggle with Amalek continues from generation to generation as long as the world exists. It is the force which keeps things material intact, perfects them. It is the force that makes life in this world ever more alluring, owing to which all the others can be forgotten. One begins to believe on account of it that everything can be attained after all, if only one seriously joins this course of things in evolution. Amalek is the great opponent of the force of the return, of that force which bespeaks other qualities, which knows about a power higher than terrestrial man's. Amalek is identical with what we call serpent, Nahash, and yet in the world of duality, Amalek is necessary. It is the side of development which, owing to the force of Amalek, becomes so serious that because of it, creation acquires its purpose. It is a force which attains the extreme point where one imagines oneself lost to the origin, forsaken by God and men. Amalek is grim against any force which disturbs him, grim in his own nature. That nature originates from the natural law of evolution, from the law of gravity, from the law of multiplicity. One cannot argue with Amalek. One can eventually struggle with him. Like a force of nature, Amalek will discover every weak point and break through it with all tricks and violence and all computation of natural law. That is how this world exists with all its technology, science, means of communication, its societies. It is the miserable inability to act differently, the inability to turn back. Yet, there ever is the revolt from within against Amalek. There is something in man which has no peace with it. This is expressed in a number of ways.